On my wedding night with my husband Griff Cheng, his first love's son had a high fever, so my newlywed husband left me, his bride, to take care of his childhood sweetheart and her son all night without returning. The next day, he took my dowry money to buy nutritional supplements for someone else's child. I became the laughingstock of the entire village, and some even called me the overnight bride. Someone gave me the nickname Cold Stove Wife in my previous life. I was just a housemaid who had her job taken away and ended up taking care of their entire family. I stayed at home, looking after his sick parents. Griff Cheng, however, let Juno's son move into the family housing unit allocated to us by his workplace. His monthly salary of 63 yuan was only 13 yuan for the household, which had to cover all living expenses for the whole family, while the rest was given to Juno's son. It's also rather laughable to think that in my previous life, I was able to successfully consummate my marriage with Griff Cheng thanks to Juno's son's father. If Juno's son's father hadn't broken his leg, causing her to go home and take care of him, Griff Cheng and I would probably have remained a couple in name only for the rest of our lives. When Juno's son found out, she made a huge scene, calling me shameless and accusing me of seducing men all day long, always thinking about that kind of thing. Griff Cheng actually went to comfort her, saying it wasn't my fault, that he lacked self-control and couldn't resist. That was the first time Griff Cheng ever spoke up for me. How ridiculous. Having to explain our marital relations to someone else. That one time, I became pregnant, when I was 7 months along. Juno's son's son pushed me into a river. I was rescued and taken to the town hospital, but I lost the baby. The impact caused severe abdominal bleeding, and I had to have my uterus removed. I want to report to the police. But Griff Cheng disagrees. If you report this to the police, we'll get divorced, and you'll never be able to have children again. Who would want you then? Don't worry, I'll treat you well, and I'll have my nephew take care of you in your old age, but I would rather get divorced than not report it to the police. Griff Cheng is afraid I will report the case, so he has placed me under house arrest. My biological father sacrificed his life to put out a fire at the factory. After his death, the factory offered me a job placement opportunity, but Griff Cheng gave it to his sister-in-law instead. After my father's sacrifice, my mother disappeared without a trace. I was taken in by my uncle, though taken in is a generous term, as his family simply moved into the brick house my father had built. I don't know what benefits Griff Cheng offered my uncle, but my uncle went from being angry when the incident first happened to trying to persuade me to let it go. In the end, with no way out, I jumped into the river to end my life. 1. The courtyard gate was knocked, and my husband's first love, Juno's son, was at the gate holding a child, asking for help. Griff, Tiger is running a fever. Can you help me take him to the commune clinic? Woo-woo. Griff Cheng pushed me out of his arms and immediately started getting dressed. You're not allowed to go. Her family is from this village, and it's not like she doesn't have siblings. Why should you go on your wedding night, while putting on his shoes? Griff Cheng tried to comfort me. Luna Shu, you know her family situation. Her brother won't take care of her. Furious, I stepped barefoot onto the floor. No matter what, you can't go. Even if her brother won't help, there's still her father. Tiger's uncles have always been good to him. It's not your place to interfere. Griff Cheng was getting impatient. Dong Hui is my brother. He's dead, and I will definitely do my best to help his wife and child. Don't be unreasonable. I grabbed Griff Cheng to stop him from leaving. My eyes read, Griff Cheng, it's our wedding night. If you leave tonight and word gets out, how am I supposed to face anyone in the village in the future? Griff Cheng hesitated for a moment, but the knocking outside grew louder, and he still chose Juno's son and her child. I promise I'll come right back after dropping them off. It's not safe for a woman and a child to travel at night. Besides, no one will know I left. I still held on, refusing to let him go. In a fit of anger, he shook me off, and I lost my balance, hitting my forehead on the desk. Blood instantly started flowing. Startled, he quickly helped me up and laid me down on the kang. Griff Cheng, my head is so dizzy. It's okay, the wound is very small. You rest for a while. I'll take the mother and child and come right back. My head was too dizzy. I didn't have the strength to argue, and all I heard was the sound of the door closing before I passed out. When I woke up again, the sky was still dimly dark. Reborn, I sat dazedly on the kang, the bright red double happiness character on the wall glaringly conspicuous. 2. I picked up the mirror, examined my wound, and gave it a simple treatment. I wasn't alone, I still had my grandmother, who had always loved me dearly. I glanced at the clock, got out of bed, and opened my dowry chest. From it, I took out a brand new bedsheet. I bundled up all the grain coupons, meat coupons, money, property deed, household registration, employment documents from my workplace, and new clothes into a large package. I locked the chest again, wrote a letter asking for help, and then carried the large package to my grandmother's house. Grandma is getting older and wakes up quite early. She was sewing shoe soles in the house when she saw me and was very surprised. I'll keep it short. Grandma, I'm getting a divorce. Can you help me hide these? When Grandma saw my forehead, her eyes instantly reddened. Without asking another question, she led me to a corner of the pig pen. Beneath a pile of weeds, there was a vegetable cellar. After putting the things away, I reassured my grandmother and hurried back to the Cheng family. Feeling a bit weak, I lay down and slept for a while longer. Early the next morning, Griff Cheng returned. He was holding the child, and his first love followed behind him as they went back to the village together. An aunt teased, "Griff, did you go do a good deed again? Griff just loves to help others. Ha ha ha." All the way, there were the auntie's teasing remarks and laughter. How could Griff Cheng not detect the teasing in those words? He just smiled and didn't respond. Rumors are spreading like wildfire in the village at this moment, and my nickname as the neglected daughter-in-law has once again been confirmed. After he took Juno's son and her child home, he returned to his own place and, without even sparing a glance at me, went straight to my dowry chest. 3. Seeing the dowry chest locked, he finally turned to look at me. There I sat on the kang, staring straight at him, the shocking wound on my forehead clearly visible. Guiltily, he wiped his face. There weren't many people at the clinic yesterday, and Juno was scared being there alone. So, I stared at him without saying a word. He sat by the edge of the kang, took my hand, and said, "Luna Shu, Huzi is quite ill and needs some nutritional supplements. Could you give me some of your meat coupons and sugar coupons?" Griff Cheng and his good friend both fell for Juno's son at the same time. Because Liu Donghui's family was well off and offered a generous bride price, the Sun family married Juno's son off to Liu Donghui. Perhaps what you can't have always seems the best. This matter became Griff Cheng's greatest regret in his life. In his previous life, he used my food coupons to buy meat, brown sugar, and nutritional supplements for Juno's son and her daughter. I worked like an ox in their household, even toiling in the fields, from the day I married into their family. His sister-in-law turned into a Lin Dayu, feigning illness or fainting every day, leaving all the chores, washing clothes, cooking, feeding pigs and chickens, to me alone. His parents also seemed to age overnight, suddenly incapable of doing any work, because I was a high school graduate. I had to find time to tutor his nephew, and when the kid didn't do well in exams, they blamed me for not being diligent enough. Scenes from my past life flashed through my mind one by one, rage churned within me. And I shoved Griff Cheng away abruptly, caught off guard. He fell to the ground. I got out of bed and put on my shoes. "I want a divorce. We still haven't gotten our marriage license. The last time we were about to, Juno's son sprained her ankle. The time before that, Juno's son's son hit his head and bled. Actually, I'm not old enough to legally get married. Because I was very smart as a child, my mom wanted me to start school early and changed my registered age to be 2 years older. Little did she know that after changing my age to enroll, I was too young to even sit still in class. In the end, I ended up repeating first grade for 2 years. In the countryside, holding a wedding banquet is equivalent to getting married. I want to make a big scene and let the whole village know their family is behaving disgracefully, a clear and public cancellation of the engagement. Now, I'm actually quite grateful for Juno's son's repeated interference in getting the license. It saved me from the biggest trouble. Griff Cheng, who was just about to curse, instantly fell silent, his sharp gaze fixed on me. The money and coupons were living subsidies from my dad's factory. I saved them by scrimping and saving. Why should I use them to nourish someone else's child? You want it? I curled my lips. Dream on, you. Griff Cheng's face instantly darkened, and he sprang up from the ground. "Luna Shu, what do you mean by that? Before we got married, you promised to help me take care of Juno and her child together. I could hear the suppressed anger in his tone. I didn't mean anything. I regret it. Take care of yourself. It's none of my business. Are you playing with me? You tricked me into holding the banquet and now you're showing your true colors. Don't think that just because we had the banquet, you're my rightful wife. Don't forget. We haven't registered yet. I can kick you out anytime. At this moment, the mother-in-law entered. You brat, what nonsense are you spouting? She rushed in and slapped Griff Cheng twice. In my previous life, I never truly understood what kind of person my mother-in-law was until the day I died. On the surface, she sided with me and even scolded her son, but she never stopped him from taking care of Liu Juno. She knew to warn sister-in-law Griff Cheng not to bully me. And she would even scold her sister-in-law, sometimes whipping her a few times with a willow branch. However, she would secretly give her sister-in-law money and indulge her in all sorts of laziness and shirking of work. Such a person, in my past life, I considered her the closest to me. I avoided the hand that Griff Cheng's mother reached out to pull me. Aunt Cheng, Griff Cheng is right. We can't be considered husband and wife. We never registered our marriage, nor did we consummate it. Luna Shu. Is it just because I didn't consummate the marriage with you last night? Don't make a scene, just give me the ticket first, and tomorrow we'll transfer the job to Juno. I promise I'll consummate the marriage with you, and you won't have to go to work and suffer anymore. I couldn't even imagine how he managed to say such shameless words. I hadn't even had a chance to speak when Griff Cheng's sister-in-law jumped in. Why should our family's job be given to Juno's son? Griff Cheng's mother also looked disapproving. Jobs in town are so valuable these days. One job can sell for 1,000 yuan. Griff Cheng, I wouldn't say anything if you gave Juno's son some small items or occasionally helped her out. That's just you being kind, but you can't give away a job. It should go to your sister-in-law. Your brother's family has a son who can eventually take over the position. Mom, Juno is raising a child on her own. It's not easy for her. If I don't help her, who will? She has no income. A woman can't make ends meet just by farming. With a job, Juno can support herself and her child with her salary. No, second brother, I'm your sister-in-law, and Little Bao is your own nephew. With a town job, Little Bao can go to school in town. How can you not think about your nephew's future? Griff, a delicate voice called out, and just hearing it made me feel physically sick. Juno's son came holding her child. She had waited at home for a long time. But Griff Cheng hadn't brought the meat coupons. Juno's son wanted to come and see what was going on, and just happened to overhear the argument about work. With tears in her eyes, she looked at Griff Cheng's mother, her legs giving way as she knelt down. Auntie, please have mercy on me. It's so hard raising a child alone. After Donghui passed away, I have no one to rely on. Woo-woo. At that moment, I stood by watching the drama unfold. In my past life, I never knew how they eventually reached a consensus. Juno's son, what does your husband's death have to do with our family? You're raising the Sun family's child, so why are you coming to ask for our family's job? Don't cry here. Crying yourself to death won't help, Griff Cheng's sister-in-law said with a determined expression. Griff Cheng's mother glared at her eldest daughter-in-law. Shut up. How can you talk like that? Then she went to help Juno's son. Juno, Griff Cheng spending some money on you is something I've never interfered with. But this matter of work really won't do. If word gets out, our family giving you the job would also harm your reputation. Don't you think so? And given your own family's behavior, you wouldn't be able to keep the job anyway. What do you think? But don't worry, once the housing allocated by Griff Cheng's workplace is settled, you can go live there with the child. You can go to the city and have Griff Cheng set aside part of his salary to help you, and the child can also use Griff Cheng's workplace quota to attend school. How does that sound? Only now do I see how shameless this family is. Without even consulting me, the person involved. They've already arranged my job and decided who to send me to. They've even arranged the housing. I never expected that, in my previous life. The idea of taking Juno's son to live in my house was actually Griff Cheng's mother's suggestion. But I don't understand why Griff Cheng's mother is coaxing Juno's son like this. Juno's son seemed quite pleased with Griff Cheng's mother's suggestion. She slowly stood up and said with a hint of grievance, okay. Only I could see the uncontrollable calculation in her eyes. Griff Cheng's sister-in-law showed a satisfied smile. To her, It didn't matter who Griff Cheng gave his money to, as long as the job went to her. Griff Cheng also breathed a sigh of relief, as if the matter was settled just like that. 3. When Juno's son came in just now, he didn't close the courtyard gate properly, and at that moment, several aunties in the yard were watching the commotion. As I walked out, I shouted loudly to the aunties outside, "Aunties, did you see that?" Before I could even speak, the Cheng family gave away my job. This family devours people without spitting out the bones. I want a divorce. As soon as these words were spoken, Griff Cheng immediately looked at me, as if he wanted to tear me to pieces. Griff Cheng's sister-in-law's smile froze on her face. Mrs. Cheng looked as if she had been choked by the throat. At that moment, Mr. Cheng walked over and gave Griff Cheng a meaningful look. "Griff Cheng, why don't you take your wife back inside? Don't embarrass yourself out here." Griff Cheng understood and came to grab me. I immediately dashed outside, screaming, "Help! The Cheng family is trying to kill me." I ran all the way toward the village chief's house. Many villagers heard my cries and came out to watch the commotion. Griff Cheng was chasing after me, but how could I possibly outrun him? Before I even reached the chief's house, Griff Cheng caught me, threw me over his shoulder, and started carrying me back. "Help, village chief, help. We're not even legally married, Griff Cheng. If you take me back, it's illegal confinement. I'll sue you. I'll make sure you go to jail. I'll hang myself at your doorstep. Help, my father is a hero, and you're abusing the child of a hero." The village chief still didn't appear, and the villagers only offered verbal because everyone considered this a family matter. There was nothing they could do. "Griff, don't hit your wife when you go back. You just got married, it'll get better with time. Cheng boy, why haven't you two gotten your marriage license yet? TSK, not getting it is unacceptable. Hey, put Xia Shu down right now. Let's talk this through properly." Just as we were approaching Griff Cheng's doorstep, my grandmother arrived and stood in front of him. "Griff Cheng, what are you doing? Did our Luna get sold to your family?" Griff Cheng didn't dare to take another step at that moment. Being accused of disrespecting elders would harm his reputation. He was a man with a job in town. "Grandma, stop. Please call me Grandma Luna. My granddaughter hasn't registered the marriage with you. I am not your grandmother. Put her down immediately, or I will go to the police station to report you for forcibly taking a civilian woman." Upon hearing this, Griff Cheng's face turned pale. He immediately put me down. At that moment, Griff Cheng's father also came out. "Grandma Luna is here. Please come inside." "No need. I heard they haven't registered their marriage yet. Without the marriage certificate, they are not considered a married couple. Luna, come home with Grandma." Grandma tried to pull me away, but Mr. Cheng stopped her. "In-law, look, the kids are young and don't understand. It's just a little quarrel between husband and wife. Why take it so seriously? In our countryside, holding a wedding banquet means they're officially married. That's how it's been for generations. Isn't it, Fumpage? What, you think the Communist Party's words don't count anymore? It's been decades since we broke with the four olds and embraced the new society. The radio keeps preaching about a society ruled by law, a society ruled by law. So what, you want to break the law? Don't you think I'm ignorant just because I'm an old woman? Let me tell you, Griff Cheng, without a marriage certificate, it's not a marriage. If you dare to force her to stay, I'll report you for the crime of hooliganism. I, an old woman, have worked as a women's director for half my life. Just try to bully a woman and see what happens." A few words left Cheng's father speechless. Watching my grandmother argue so fiercely for me, I couldn't stop my tears from flowing. In my past life, when I was held under house arrest, my grandmother never knew about it. At that very moment, the village chief and his wife came running from another direction. Only when I saw the old village chief did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. Actually, I had gone to the village chief's house early in the morning. Seeing the lock on the front door, I knew the chief and his wife must have left before dawn to sell their saved eggs at the market. I slipped the plea for help through the door crack into the village chief's yard. Little did I know it was the end of the month. After selling the eggs, the village chief went straight to the commune to give his summary report. His wife returned home alone, saw the plea for help as soon as she entered the yard, and immediately rushed to the brigade to make a phone call. The village chief hurried back upon receiving the call, while his wife, frantic with worry, waited anxiously at the village entrance. The entire village, I could only turn to the village chief for help, because my father once saved his youngest son from the river. When my father passed away, the village chief said, "If you ever need anything, you must come to your uncle." In truth, in my past life, the village chief secretly sought me out many times, asking if I needed help. He even said that if I wanted a divorce, he could assist me, but back then, it was as if I was under some kind of spell. "Come on, let's go inside and talk. Tell me what's going on." The village chief spoke up, and the villagers followed, crowding into the yard. I supported my grandmother as we returned to the Cheng family with the village chief. As soon as we entered the house, I saw that the lock on my trunk had been pried open. I flung the trunk open. "Who did this?" The eldest sister-in-law of the Cheng family stepped forward defiantly. "I did it. So what? Once you marry into our family, we're all one household. What's wrong with me taking a look at your dowry? Who knew you were just putting on airs with a shabby trunk? There wasn't even a damn thing inside. I'm reporting this to the police. This is theft. Even if I hadn't married into your family yet, you have no right to pry open my lock. This is the behavior of a thief." When his sister-in-law heard about reporting to the police, she felt a bit guilty. When I opened the box, it was already empty. Why report to the police? This box wasn't empty when it was carried in yesterday. Brother Zhong and Brother who carried the dowry, can come in and try lifting it now. At that moment, Brother Zhong and Brother who were watching the commotion, were present. The two of them lifted it and said, "No, this was much heavier yesterday." Cheng's sister-in-law was dumbfounded. "You short-sighted fool, old Mrs." Cheng immediately slapped Cheng's sister-in-law. Aunt Cheng covered her face with a pitiful expression. Griff Cheng glared resentfully at Cheng's sister-in-law. Old man Cheng, seeing his son's expression, thought that his son had already taken care of things last night. And now his sister-in-law had ruined his plans, but Griff Cheng thought that his sister-in-law had hidden everything away, because he had watched her pack the dowry items himself. Griff Cheng, for the sake of his sister-in-law's reputation, and old man Cheng, for his son's reputation, said, "Why report to the police? Just tell us what's inside, and we'll compensate you with money." I was delighted to hear this. I wanted to reclaim what was owed from my past life, cash plus the value of the items, including bedsheets and clothes, totaling 400 yuan. Old Cheng nearly stumbled and fell. "How much? You really dare to ask for that much? My dad's factory gave me a living allowance of 30 yuan per month until I graduated from high school this year, totaling 4 years and 3 months, which is 1,530 yuan. I gave my uncle 15 yuan per month for living expenses, leaving me with 765 yuan. Before I could finish, there were gasps all around. Didn't he Uncle Luna Shu say that Luna Shu didn't give any money? Exactly, and that Dong Qiao even said they had been supporting Luna Shu for over 4 years without any compensation, but 15 yuan a month would have been enough to cover the whole family's living expenses. Oh, how heartless. Just like her mother was a stepmother, and she was terrible too. TSK, I continued. Besides, when I got married, I spent 180 yuan to buy Griff Cheng a watch and 60 yuan to buy her mother a set of clothes. Alright, stop talking, I'll give you the money. Before I could finish calculating how much I should have left, Griff Cheng cut in decisively. In the end, the old lady came out of the room and handed me 400 yuan. I reached out to Griff Cheng again. "Give me back the money for the watch and the clothes I bought for your mom and your sister-in-law, a total of 312 yuan. Griff Cheng flew into a rage. "Luna Shu, that's enough. Don't push your luck. What do you mean? I'm not marrying you anymore, and your family didn't give a single cent for the betrothal gifts. Can't I even take back what's mine? Are you a robber?" Griff Cheng's veins bulged, and he said through gritted teeth, "Mom, give her the money, this time." Old Lady Cheng was unwilling. "Why should I? Our family spent money on the banquet yesterday. Isn't this a marriage scam?" I pointed to my forehead. "If you don't return it to me, I'll report it to the police and sue you." What is this called? Abuse of women. In the end, I happily received 712 yuan. I knew this was basically most of the Cheng family's savings, because in my previous life, not long after I married into their family, Mrs. Cheng fell ill, and the family had to empty their savings to scrape together 200 yuan just to save Griff Cheng's mother. I wonder how his mother will fare in this life without the life-saving money. 4. The old village chief took a drag of his cigarette and said, "Now that we've settled the money issue, let's talk about calling off the engagement. Since there's no marriage certificate, let's just drop it." "No way," Griff Cheng and his mother said in unison. I looked at Griff Cheng. "Are you trying to force a marriage, Luna Shu? Wasn't it you who was eager to marry me back then? Wasn't it you who agreed to take care of Juno's son and her child? Wasn't it you who agreed to give up your job?" Hearing this, I wished I could drown my past self in a bucket of piss. I exhaled a heavy breath. Yes, I was the one who rushed to marry you back then. But now I regret it. What am I not allowed to regret? I don't want to jump into this fire pit anymore. Since I've already regretted it and decided not to marry you, the subsequent promises naturally become meaningless. I'm no longer your fiancé, so why should I take care of your little first love, if I'm not marrying you? Why should I give your family the job my father exchanged with his life? Griff Cheng's expression changed instantly, the anger on his face disappearing. He sighed, his tone suddenly becoming gentle. "Luna, come on, stop being upset," looking at the fake, nauseating smile on his face. I wanted to slap myself even more. Why did it take dying once to finally open my eyes? I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have run out yesterday without consummating our marriage. I just thought, since Donghui is gone, and Huzi is his only bloodline, I was afraid something might happen. Can you forgive me? I promise from now on, I'll discuss everything with you. Even if I help them, I'll get your approval first. We can talk about work later. I promise we'll go get our marriage certificate this afternoon, so you'll feel secure. Are you trying to trick me into getting the certificate so you can lock me up? I directly exposed his true intentions. You insisted on carrying me back despite my resistance. Isn't it obvious you just want to keep me under house arrest? At this moment, I finally understood that in my past life, the decision to confine me was likely also the idea of this seemingly honest father-in-law. The village chief then spoke up. "Marriage should be voluntary. Since Shu refuses, this engagement is hereby cancelled. From now on, both parties are free to marry others without interference. Zhong, return the dowry box to Shu." Although the Cheng family was unwilling, with the village chief having spoken, they couldn't actually force the marriage. The village chief stood up to leave. "Wait a moment, Uncle Village Chief." I pulled Grandma aside and whispered a few words to her. With tears in her eyes, Grandma nodded. I held my grandmother's hand, comforting her heart with my warmth. "Since everyone is here today, I'd like to ask you to make a decision for me once more. I'm already 18 and have graduated. I want to sell the brick house my father left me, as well as my grandmother's house." As soon as these words were spoken, the room immediately erupted in commotion. The reason I wanted to sell the houses was because I knew that with my own strength alone, I couldn't drive away my uncle's family. Even if I did, I wouldn't be living in the village long term, and they would surely damage the houses. Grandma and I have offended the Cheng family today. And I already knew from my past life how wicked the Chengs can be. If someone's dog poops in their field, they would definitely find a way to kill that dog. Living in the same village as such people would bring endless trouble. My mother was Grandma's only child, although Grandma has siblings in this village. They are all elderly. How could they have the energy to look after her? Uncle's family won't easily back down either. So we might as well go all the way. I might as well sell the house and use the money to buy one in town, so I can bring Grandma to live with me. My grandmother's house was also a brick tile house renovated by my father. Someone once asked if my grandmother would sell it, but she refused. At that time, she wanted to wait there for my mother to come home. In my previous life, even until my death, my mother never appeared again. I never understood why. In my memory, my mother was very filial. So how could she just leave my grandmother without a word? As my thoughts returned to the present, someone asked about the house price. After some bargaining, and considering that my uncle's family was living there, making it troublesome for the buyer to evict them, we finally settled on 600 yuan. My grandmother's house sold for even more than mine, 750 yuan. Because the yard was particularly large and there were no complications, they were both sold to two families preparing for weddings next year. To avoid complications, we directly signed the agreement between us and went to the town's property bureau in the afternoon to complete the transfer. They also agreed that we could move out of my grandmother's house within 6 months, giving us time to find a new place. after paying the deposit and signing the agreement. My uncle's family immediately came over upon hearing the news. 5. My aunt scolded me harshly. You heartless girl, who told you to break off the engagement? Back when your father passed away, how much did the Cheng family help us? How can you be so ungrateful? Not a single word was mentioned about the house. Auntie really knows how to manipulate. She's aware they have no grounds when it comes to the house. Auntie, back then the whole village helped out. Does that mean I have to marry every single person who lent a hand? Your father died early too, and your mother raised your brother and you with the village's help. Did she repay everyone by sleeping with them? Wait, I remember your mother later married an outsider. That family hadn't even moved here when your dad died, right? My aunt's face immediately changed. She sat on the ground, slapping her legs and crying, I've raised you for so many years for nothing, you ungrateful wretch. Auntie, you live in my house, and I pay for living expenses. You didn't raise me for nothing. I even have to help you wash clothes and cook. You're talking nonsense. When did you ever give me living expenses? Woo-woo, you're so young and already know how to lie. I'm your aunt, and I've been so good to you. How can you be so heartless? Luna, don't be unreasonable. Marriage isn't a game. The wedding banquet has already been held. That means you're married. Live well with Griff Cheng. He's a good kid, such high-sounding words, spoken so beautifully. Uncle, I'm 18 years old now, I can take care of my own affairs. Auntie, do you know why I always have you press your fingerprint whenever I give you money? I've kept them all, because they're evidence, everyone, yes. That was the only time I was ever clever in my life, though I wouldn't really call it clever, because the village chief's youngest son taught me, back when he hadn't joined the army yet, after my dad passed away. He always secretly helped me. At first, I gave all 30 yuan of the monthly allowance to my aunt. When he saw me giving all the money to my aunt, he gave me an idea. You only need to give half for living expenses, if you don't have any money yourself. What will you do if they don't pay your tuition in the future? I listened to this older brother very carefully, because ever since my dad saved him, he always protected me like a guardian. I decided to give him 15, and he taught me again, telling me to prepare a notebook and have her sign every time I gave her money. Otherwise, what if they ask for living expenses when I grow up? I thought that made a lot of sense, but my aunt couldn't write. My brother didn't know where he got me a box of ink from, so every time, he had my aunt put her handprint. Later, I finally found out where the ink came from, because he was beaten up by Uncle Village Chief, and Uncle Village Chief's ink was lost. I never thought these handprints would actually become evidence now. Auntie's eyes were about to burst. Uncle, I've sold my house. You should move back to the old house soon. What? You sold it and broke off the engagement. Where will you live in the future? I'm going to buy a house in town. Then instead of selling it to someone else, you might as well sell it to your uncle. Uncle is right. So how much are you planning to buy it for? Uncle, I said, smiling at this blood relative, who was the last straw that broke the camel's back in my previous life. He was quite clever and didn't quote a price directly. Whatever price you sell it for to others, I'll give you that much. Don't worry, your uncle won't shortchange you. It's fine to give a bit more. As soon as he said this, some villagers started to question me. Exactly, why didn't this girl ask her uncle first if he wanted it? How could she just sell it to an outsider? That's right, she's heartless. Doesn't even understand the principle of favoring family by 3 parts. No wonder they say you can't raise someone else's child to be loyal. Faced with all these comments, I couldn't care less. Alright, I'll buy it for 600 from outsiders, but you give me 500. Grandma and I still need to buy a house where I work, or else we'll be left homeless on the streets. Uncle's eyes flickered. Fine. Then tear up the previous agreement. The previous buyer was about to get angry, but I stopped him with a look. Uncle, pay the deposit first. I've already taken a 300 yuan deposit from someone else. If I sell to another buyer, I'll have to compensate them 600. Uncle also wants to sign an agreement with me. If the full payment isn't made within 3 days, the deposit won't be refunded. I'm looking for someone to buy it. Uncle couldn't stay calm. His whole family is lazy and gluttonous. They couldn't even come up with the deposit, let alone afford to buy a house. I'm your own uncle. Why do I still have to pay a deposit? Even brothers must settle accounts clearly. But as far as I know, your family doesn't even have money to renovate the old house. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lived in my place for so many years. Where would you get the money to buy a house? Your uncle will give you an IOU first, and slowly pay you back later. Everyone around, is he trying to get something for nothing? Even the village chief laughed. All right, this matter is settled then. Everyone can go back now. We'll go to the town together this afternoon to handle the formalities. Auntie kept scratching and hitting uncle all the way as they left, scolding him non-stop. Brother Jong and second brother, please help me carry my boxes to Grandma's house. Grandma and I had a simple lunch. And in the afternoon, we smoothly completed the property transfer. I also received the money. I immediately deposited all the money into the credit union. I now have 684 yuan in hand. My grandmother gave me a passbook with 200 yuan in it, which I haven't touched because it's her retirement savings. I wasn't in a hurry to go back. I bought some cakes for my grandmother at the supply and marketing cooperative and then wandered around the area, trying to find out if there were any houses for sale nearby. Actually, housing is quite tight these days because, in recent years, educated youth returning to the cities have faced challenges with both jobs and housing. In the end, I returned empty-handed and came home to watch some excitement. In the morning, Uncle tried to undermine the deal, which made the buyer furious. A notice was issued. If they didn't move out within 3 days, their belongings would be thrown out. Uncle is a bully at home, and Aunt has no support from her own family. With only my father as his brother, Uncle has also alienated many relatives due to his petty nature. No one was willing to stand up for him now. Left with no choice, Uncle's family began packing up their old house. A large section of the old house's wall had already collapsed. He started borrowing money from everywhere. After that, I started going to town every day to look for a house, searching for half a month straight. But they were either too run down or too expensive. In the end, I gave up. I decided to rent a place first, thinking that buying a house would have to wait for the right opportunity to come along. The sooner I rent a place, the sooner I can report to my new job. Lunar Shu. I'm having lunch with my grandmother when someone outside calls my name. I go out to see it's the village chief's daughter, Sister Tsaixia. Come in quickly. Have you eaten? She smiles warmly. My brother has returned, and my mother wants you to come over for dinner. Brother Yuanhang is back. Xie Yuanhang was the village chief's youngest son. I remembered that in my previous life, he never came home, the village chief's wife, because he was always in the army and wouldn't get married, truly worried herself sick. I went back to the yard, caught a chicken, and followed Tsaixia to the village chief's house. Why did you catch a chicken? Take it back quickly, Sister Tsaixia. My grandma and I are moving, and these things need to be dealt with anyway. We might as well add a dish to our meal. Sister Tsaixia no longer refused. As soon as we entered the yard, the food was already on the table. The village chief's wife took the chicken from my hand. We'll eat this tonight. Jinghong is the village chief's eldest grandson, 12 years old this year. The village chief's wife handed him a basket and said, "Take these to Grandma Luna." Auntie, no need. My grandma has already eaten, but the village chief's wife still insisted on having Jinghong deliver the meal. In my past life, my grandmother never even drank a sip of water from the Cheng family. Seeing my big brother after 4 years apart, I could hardly believe it. The once frail, sickly boy had now become a tough man. The silver stars on his shoulder straps gleamed coldly in the twilight, his brow sharp as a blade, the slight droop at the corners of his eyes hiding a hint of languor. When he turned to look at me, the high bridge of his nose cast a clean shadow across his profile, his jawline taut as a bowstring, the faint curve of his lips like thin winter ice. His stern demeanor exuding a natural, unyielding dominance. "Luna, you're here." The magnetic, deep, and familiar voice gave me an immense sense of security. I felt my cheeks burning, utterly embarrassed. Never did I expect that even after living 2 lifetimes, I would still blush at the sight of a man. The village chief's wife gave me a meaningful smile. After dinner, the village chief's wife walked me home and went alone to the bedroom to chat with my grandmother. Later I learned that Brother Yuanhang had come back for me. Every time he called, he would ask about my situation. When he heard about my broken engagement during a recent call, he immediately requested leave from the military. Grandma asked for my opinion, and my cheeks flushed red as I shyly lowered my head. Grandma understood my feelings. The very next day, the village chief and his wife indeed came to our door with a matchmaker. My condition was simple: I would always live with Grandma. He agreed completely. In the capital city where his military unit was stationed, his division commander had already promised to assign him a separate courtyard for us to live in. He asked me to bring my grandmother along to join the military camp. The village chief's youngest son proposing to me became the talk of the entire village. Some scolded me for being unchaste, saying I got engaged right after breaking off a previous betrothal. Others criticized Brother Yuanheng for being an old cow eating young grass, a 26-year-old marrying an 18-year-old bride. Some also said I was lucky to marry a company commander. In this life, I don't care what others say. He had limited leave, so he mailed the documents to the military. And we started preparing for the wedding here. Because I was going to follow the military, I gave my job at the machinery factory to Sister Tsaixia. After the Cheng family found out about this, it said that old man Cheng gave Griff Cheng a beating. All because Griff Cheng had been dragging his feet about getting our marriage certificate. The village chief's family gave me a total of 1666. 666 was for the bride price, and they gave me an additional 1,000 yuan, saying it was money for buying a job. I didn't want the money for buying a job, but Yuanheng forced it into my hand. He said, "Money is a woman's security." Having lived 2 lifetimes, I truly believe that statement is the truth. We held the wedding banquet 3 days later. On our wedding night, Yuanheng carried me to the bed, his gaze burning with passion as he said to me, "Luna, actually, I liked you even before I joined the military." I punched him lightly. I wasn't even 14 back then. "You." He leaned down with a smile and kissed my forehead. "Do you know why I joined the military?" I shook my head. He cupped my face. "Because the moment I saw you, I wanted to kiss you. I was afraid I'd make a mistake. So I ran away to join the army, waiting for you to grow up before coming back to marry you. But when I found out you were engaged, I regretted so much that I had joined the army. If I had known, I would rather have made a mistake than let you be with someone else. I thought I was destined to grow old alone. But who knew heaven would take pity? You called off the engagement, and I knew my chance had come." My face flushed. What was this feeling? My heart was racing. "Luna, from now on, you'll be my treasure, and I will definitely make you very happy." Everything fell into place. He was fully prepared, saying he would have children after he turned 20, as having them too early would be harmful to the body. In the coming days, I feel a bit afraid of the dark. 10 days later, we received the marriage application report from the military, and we went to get our marriage certificate that very day. He bought a lot of candy and handed it out to the staff at the Civil Affairs Bureau. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, we walked hand in hand as he took me to a photo studio, where we took our wedding photos. He bought me many beautiful clothes and little leather shoes. During this time, because I was eating well, I had gained some weight. Standing in front of the dressing mirror, looking at my youthful and pretty self, I deeply realized how important a woman's choices are. My house was sold almost a month ago. That day, the aunt who bought the house came to me and handed me a piece of paper, saying she found it hidden in the brick crevices of the cellar while cleaning. When I opened it, my eyes nearly burst with rage. Yuanheng accompanied me to report the case at the local police station. It turned out that after my father passed away, my uncle's family coveted our property and confined my mother, locking her in that very cellar. They spread the word that my mother had run away. My mother is beautiful. In the middle of the night, my uncle tried to assault her, but she fought back and injured him. She ran outside but was caught and brought back. This scene was witnessed by Griff Cheng, who was up due to diarrhea. After school, Griff Cheng secretly went to the cellar to check on the situation. My mother borrowed a pen and paper from him and wrote this letter, detailing the crimes committed by my uncle's family. Griff Cheng ignored my mother's plea for help and didn't tell anyone. After the local police arrested my uncle's family and interrogated them, my uncle finally confessed that my mother had died. She had fallen off a cliff while trying to escape again as he chased her. The police searched the bottom of the cliff and indeed found the remains of a woman. Back then, Griff Cheng also used this incident to threaten my uncle's family, forcing them to abandon helping me. My uncle's family was all arrested. My uncle and aunt were sentenced to death, and their property and assets were given to me as compensation for emotional distress. The rest of those who knew but did not report were punished accordingly. I hate Griff Cheng even more. In my previous life, he knew everything but neither reported it nor told me. Griff Cheng was charged with the crime of harboring a criminal, which led to the loss of his job. As a result, Griff Cheng lost his source of income, and his family no longer enjoyed the harmony of a loving mother and a filial son. Griff Cheng had no money to give to Juno's son, and Juno's son no longer paid any attention to Griff Cheng. A few days later, Griff Cheng's good friend Liu Donghui returned to the village, causing a sensation throughout the entire village. Griff Cheng could hardly believe that his supposedly deceased brother was actually still alive. It turned out that Liu Donghui had never been in any trouble. Because he was idle and jobless, unable to support his wife and children, he went to the city alone to earn money. But fearing that his family would be left uncared for, he came up with a plan to fake his own death. He knows Griff Cheng likes his wife. Juno's son couldn't stop Liu Donghui, so she had no choice but to rely on Griff Cheng. To keep Griff Cheng tied down, Juno's son told him that the child was his. Griff Cheng often drank with Liu Donghui, and there was indeed one time when he got too drunk and assaulted Juno's son. Cheng's mother also thought the child was Griff Cheng's, so she never stopped him from giving money. Griff Cheng was wholeheartedly taking care of his wife and child, and he had also made money outside, but he had a new family. However, his new wife gave birth to a girl. There was no other way. Now that he had money, he wanted a son to inherit his family business. So he came back to take his son. Juno's son refused to give him the child, so Liu Donghui took out 2,000 yuan to buy him out. In the end, Juno's son sold her own son to Liu Donghui for 2,000 yuan. Since the two had never registered their marriage, they also avoided the hassle of divorce. Griff Cheng refused to let Liu Donghui take the child, because he always believed the child was his. Liu Donghui beat Griff Cheng up and took Huzi away. He told Griff Cheng, "To be honest with you, Griff Cheng, the child is my own, it's just that we didn't have the money to raise him. So Juno's son came up with the idea of having you take care of the child." Griff Cheng went to confront Juno's son, but Juno's son had a way of handling him and managed to smooth things over right there in bed. Yuan Heng returned driving a military vehicle. "After burying my mother, I gave away or sold all the household belongings and then took my grandmother with me to follow Yuan Heng to the capital city. In the military compound of the capital city, we were assigned a 2-story house with a yard. Yuan Heng held my hand with one hand and supported Grandma with the other, saying, 'Grandma, from now on, this will be our home.' The next day, Grandma took me to her bedroom and opened one of the cloth bundles. Inside were ancient paintings and small goldfish. Back then, Grandma's family background was considered unfavorable, and it was only after marrying a poor farmer that her status changed. However, even after the family's assets were confiscated, she managed to secretly keep some. I didn't have a job, so I started my own business and benefited from the opportunities of the times. During the new year when I returned to my hometown, I listened to my mother-in-law share village gossip with me. Juno's son and Griff Cheng got married, and the Cheng family also split up. The reason was that Griff Cheng's mother fell seriously ill, and they couldn't afford the medical treatment, so she passed away after giving up on it. Griff Cheng's father then married a widow, and the household became chaotic every day. Huzi was sent back. It's said that not long after Liu Donghui took Huzi away, his new wife became pregnant, and it was said to be a boy. Huzi, afraid that the birth of a boy would affect his status, tried to push the new wife into the water while they were out playing. The new wife had already noticed his little scheme and quietly moved aside, causing Huzi to fall in himself. The river wasn't deep, but a rock ended up blinding Huzi in one eye. Liu Donghui then sent Huzi back, and now Griff Cheng is still taking care of him. Yuan Heng held my hand for a walk in the snow, and we saw Liu Juno in a tattered cotton-padded jacket, leading a one-eyed dog named Huzi. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. At the age of 50, Jiu Yunche cheated on me with his female student. When he brought home a woman 15 years his junior and forced me to leave with nothing, I felt as if the sky had fallen. Back then, to let him focus on his work, I gave up the opportunity to study abroad offered by my professor and willingly returned to family life to take care of him, parents-in-law, raising a son. Later, I injured my right hand to save him and could no longer hold a scalpel, after decades of effort and sacrifice, even if there's no credit. There's hard work. I never expected him to treat me like this. I cast a pleading glance at my parents-in-law and my son. My in-laws, however, broke away from their usual conservative and feudal demeanor and adopted a democratic approach, urging me to leave the house quickly so that Jiyu Yunche could win the beauty back. The son I raised single-handedly actually found me shabby and ugly, insisting that I step aside for Jiyu Yunche's happiness in his later years. In despair, I signed the divorce papers, only to be immediately thrown out of the house, left to freeze to death in that winter. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 1980. At that time, my father-in-law had just broken his leg, my mother-in-law had just been diagnosed with cancer, and my son was about to start first grade. I looked at everything before me with excitement, urgently examining my perfectly intact right hand, and burst into tears. This time, I will not sacrifice everything for anyone again. I will pick up the scalpel once more, devote myself to the medical field, and save lives. With a loud clang, the shabby wooden door was kicked open furiously by Jiyu Yunche. He rushed over in a few steps, pointing at me viciously, as if he could barely restrain himself from slapping me across the face. I gave Mu Ji that 200 yuan willingly. If you dare to corner her in the dormitory again to demand money, don't blame me for being rude to you. I looked up at Jiyu Yunche's face, and all the emotions of infatuation and flattery from my past life turned into disgust and revulsion. The scene from my past life, when the 53-year-old Jiyu Yunche brought a pregnant Jiang Muge to my doorstep to force me into a divorce, seemed to be right before my eyes. He proudly held the well-dressed Jiang Muge in his arms and told me with disdain that the Jiang family had turned their fortunes around with his help. From then on, he and Jiang Muge could lie back and still rise to great heights effortlessly. He wants me to be sensible and take the initiative to sign the divorce agreement and get out. My in-laws fawn over the powerful and look down on the weak. To please Jiang Muge, they viciously cursed at me, telling me to get out quickly and make way for her. My son followed their example. For the sake of his own future, he cruelly tied me up with a rope and threw me into the storeroom, refusing to give me food or water. Vowing not to stop until I signed the divorce agreement, I was starving to the point of near death, begging them on my knees to let me go, but my son cruelly cut my finger with a knife, forcing me to press my fingerprint. As soon as the in-laws heard that Jiyu Yunche had given Jiang Muge 200 yuan, the pickled vegetables in their bowls immediately lost their appeal. Yunche, 200 yuan is 3 months of your salary. Jiyu Yunchen stared grimly at her mother-in-law. You don't understand. Although Muge is just a poor student now, sooner or later, I can help Jiang. The family will turn things around, and with the Jiang family's influence, my rapid rise to success is just around the corner. Besides, Yuchen also gets a salary, right? If you cut back a little, you can easily save 200 yuan. After hearing Jiyu Yunche's words, my mother-in-law hesitated, then fixed her gaze on me and changed her tone. Yuchan, this is your fault, that little girl Muge. It's not easy. She is Yunche's student, and it's only natural for him to help her when she's in trouble. Don't be so narrow-minded, or people will laugh at you. I let out a mocking laugh and turned my gaze to my in-laws. My father-in-law had broken his leg, and the monthly medical expenses amounted to $18 or $19. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with breast cancer. Although it was in the early stages, surgery was still the safer option. I had mentioned to Jiyu Yunche before, and he said we should save a bit each month, and once the weather warms up, we'll take my mother-in-law for her surgery. For the past few months, our whole family has been scrimping and saving. We've been eating the same plate of pickles for 3 days and still didn't dare to finish it. Yet, he just casually gave away 200 yuan without a second thought. In my previous life, I endured and compromised, only to be met with his ruthless betrayal in the end. In this life, whoever wants this scumbag can have him. I lowered my gaze with a cold smile, raised my hand, and smashed the only meat dish on the table onto the floor. My salary is already stretched thin supporting your parents. I've done more than enough. I have no obligation to support the woman you're seeing on the side. Since you want to rely on Jiang Muge for a cushy life, why not give her a proper status? Let's get a divorce. After saying this, I turned and ran outside. Not caring in the slightest about the furious curses from Jiyu Yunche behind me or the heart-wrenching cries of Jiyu Jingja, I ran all the way and reached Professor Zhao's office just before she got off work. Professor Zhao, about the opportunity to study abroad you mentioned last time, do I still have a chance? Professor Zhao looked at me with pleasant surprise, bent down to take the application form out of her drawer, and said, "I've been waiting for you to come and see me." Looking at Professor Zhao's kind face, I felt a lump in my throat and choked up a little. In my previous life, she earnestly talked to me about the future, telling me that this opportunity for further study was rare and that after 5 years of studying abroad, I would come back to at least become a vice dean. She also said that women shouldn't be trapped in the trivialities of family life and encouraged me to see the world outside, yet I let her kindness down. Giving up this one chance to change my fate for the sake of my family, and even resigned from the hospital job, returning home willingly to serve them like a beast of burden. In the end, I was mocked by the whole family and met a fate where I could not rest in peace. I quickly filled in my name on the application form, looked up at Professor Zhao with utmost sincerity, and said, "You're right. I will no longer change my original intention of dedicating myself to saving lives and healing the wounded for anyone." On the way back, it felt as if I had shed a heavy shackle, and my steps became free and light. As soon as I reached the doorstep, the long-lost aroma of stewed meat wafted toward me. With my in-laws being ill and Jiyu Yunche not contributing his salary to the household, we had been tightening our belts for months. And it had been a long time since we last had stewed meat. I had no idea. I wonder what guests came to the house today that my in-laws are being so extravagantly generous. I tiptoed and peeked through the window. My usually stingy mother-in-law was putting braised pork belly into Jiang Mugei's bowl, saying, "Eat more. I heard from Yun Che that you're too frugal to buy meat for yourself. Today, you can eat as much as you want." Jiang Mugei didn't hold back either, taking big bites of the fatty and lean meat, and in no time, half a bowl of rice was gone. The in-laws watched with eager eyes, swallowing hard. Jiyu Jingja's chopsticks, about to pick up more meat, were firmly pressed down by his mother-in-law. Jiyu Yunche looked at Jiang Mugei with an admiring gaze, his eyes far from innocent. I pushed the door open forcefully and deliberately stood in the doorway for a while, letting the cold wind blow fiercely into the room. My mother-in-law gave me a dissatisfied look. "If you have the nerve to run out, why come back?" Ignoring her exaggerated eye-rolling, I pulled up a stool and sat next to Jiang Mugei, picking up a piece of meat from the plate and stuffing it into my mouth. "Jiang, miss, didn't you know my mother-in-law has cancer and can't eat meat? If you feel bad about it, just return the $200 Jiyu Yunche gave you. Buying all this meat is such a waste." Jiang Mugei looked at me awkwardly. The food in her mouth neither spit out nor swallowed. She immediately stood up and fumbled in her pocket for a long time before pulling out 2 crumpled 200 yuan bills. Reluctantly, she extended the money toward her mother-in-law, saying, "Auntie, I came today to return the money. Teacher Jiyu has already been very good to me, and I don't want to put him in a difficult position." My mother-in-law glared at me fiercely, holding the corner of the money and looking at Jiyu Yunche, not daring to take it, yet unwilling to return it. Seeing this, I quickly reached out and took the money from Jiang Mugei's hand. "You really shouldn't make things difficult for him. If you like Jiyu Yunche, you should help him take care of his family more. Look at all these family matters that need someone to handle. Anyway, he will marry you sooner or later, so it's better to get familiar with it early." Jiang Mugei looked at me in shock, his face flushed bright red. "Shimu, Shinyu-chan. Are you never going to stop?" Jiyu Yunche, showing no mercy, dragged me into the adjacent room, fuming with anger. "What exactly are you trying to do?" I let out a cold laugh. "Wasn't I clear enough? I want a divorce. Starting tomorrow, I will be staying at the office until you agree to the divorce." Jiyu Yunche glared at me fiercely and slammed the door in anger. Staring at Jiyu Yunche's tall and straight back, I let out a sarcastic laugh. Soon enough, he would realize that managing the daily necessities of life wouldn't bring him what he wanted, love. Early the next morning, I took my packed belongings and went to the hospital dormitory. I thought, with Jiang Mugei's capabilities, even if she had to grit her teeth and endure, she would manage to hold out until I went abroad for further studies before causing any trouble. I never expected that just 3 days after I was in the hospital, Ji Yoon-chae showed up at my door. Shin-yu-chan. Have you had enough of this drama? If you're done, hurry up and go home quickly. I closed the medical file in my hand and looked up at the weary-faced Ji Yoon-chae, decided to get a divorce. The Ji family has been quite lively these past 3 days. In an effort to win Ji Yoon-chae's favor, Jiang Muge actually dared to move into the Ji residence and took on the task of caring for the entire Ji family. It's just a shame that she was used to a life of luxury since childhood. And after the Jiang family fell from grace, she immediately found a protector in Ji Yoon-chae. Never having suffered any hardship, she knew nothing but relied solely on her passion to solve the Ji family's problems. She was simply naive. On the evening I left, in an effort to show off, she spent a fortune buying snacks and toys for Ji Jingja, and even bought prepared foods and pickles for her in-laws. That night, the lights in the Ji household stayed on until past 10. With laughter echoing continuously from inside, perhaps it was a case of extreme joy turning into sorrow. Her mother-in-law suddenly developed a high fever at night after eating food that was too oily and salty. Simple physical cooling methods were completely ineffective. In a moment of desperation, Ji Yoon-chae had no choice but to take her mother-in-law to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor directly informed Ji Yoon-chae that to save her life, her mother-in-law needed immediate surgery. With Ji Yoon-chae absent, both her father-in-law and Ji Jingja had to be taken care of by Jiang Muge. Under Jiang Muge's attentive care, her father-in-law ended up with a bruised forehead, knocked out a tooth and broke a hand in the fall. Both the in-laws were hospitalized, and Jiang Muge and Ji Yoon-chae were so busy running around the hospital that they had no time to take care of Ji Jingja, so they had to leave him. At the neighbor's house next door, the neighbor's child is an idle loafer. And it's said that this morning Ji Jingja didn't even go to school, instead following that kid he went to catch some wild game. Ji Yoon-chae, exhausted, furrowed his brow and sighed, his tone softening. I won't get a divorce. I know I was wrong. From now on, I'll hand over all my salary to you. Please forgive me just this once. Mom just had surgery, and her recovery will take a long time. Dad isn't in good health either, and there's a lot of heavy work at home that still relies on you. Jingja is also in school. You're in elementary school now and need help with your homework. Why not take this chance to resign? I can support our family anyway. I looked coldly at Ji Yoon-chae. In my previous life, he persuaded me in the same way. I believed him, and the result, after I resigned, Jiang Muge immediately got the opportunity to study abroad, and the following year, Ji Yoon-chae found a way to go abroad as well. He went abroad, overseas. They were a glamorous and romantic couple. With Ji Yoon-chae spending all his money to help the Jiang family turn their fortunes around, not sending a single penny back home, I had no job and could only rely on odd jobs to make ends meet. In the bitter cold of winter, my hands turned black from the frost, yet I couldn't bring myself to buy a pair of gloves. I couldn't bear to put the food in my mouth, saving it all for my in-laws and Ji Jingja. Several times I fainted at the doorstep from exhaustion, and when Ji Jingja called Ji Yoon-chae to ask for money to be sent, he would hesitate and hang up the phone. Later, when they returned to the country in all their glamour, Ji Yoon-chae turned around and blamed me for not taking good care of his parents and son. I clenched my fist and deliberately mocked, why not hire a nanny? Our combined salaries can afford it. I think Jiang Muge would be a good choice. She's young, we know her well, and your parents like her. How could she be a nanny? She's a top student. Her hands are meant to hold a scalpel, not be buried in the trivialities of daily life. I looked at my rough hands with a bittersweet feeling. Aren't I supposed to be a top student? Should my hands be buried in the trivialities of life? Ji Yoon-chae, you're being way too biased towards Jiang Muge. Ji Yoon-chae tried to defend himself. That's not what I meant. I curled my lips in a mocking smile and took out the form from the drawer. I'm going abroad. Ji Yoon-chae snatched the form in surprise, his voice suddenly rising. This spot should be Muji's. I looked at Ji Yoon-chae calmly, but my hand under the table was clenched tightly into a fist. What do you mean it should be hers? Jiang Muge is just an intern. Why should such a good opportunity go to her? Does she even have the ability? Ji Yoon-chae's chest heaved with anger. He stared at me, taking several deep breaths before finally calming his emotions, he reached out to pull me. You should take the initiative to tell the leadership that you won't pursue further studies and give this opportunity to Muge. Muge is young. If her skills aren't good, I can teach her slowly. She needs this opportunity for further study more than you do. I coldly avoided Ji Yunch's hand. Why should I? I am a key member of the hospital. This opportunity is what I deserve. What does Jiang Muge have? Just because she climbed into your bed, you can use your position to give her such a good opportunity. You're talking nonsense, Ji Yunche shouted, then cleared his throat awkwardly and lowered his voice. Muge and I have a completely innocent relationship. Stop spreading rumors. I'm not letting you go for the sake of our family. How can you bear to abandon our home just for this training opportunity? Ji Yunche has always been skilled at psychological manipulation, always shifting the blame onto me, making me feel guilty and remorseful, so I foolishly let them take advantage. In my previous life, I was too responsible and couldn't bear to see Ji Jingzhe suffer. So I gradually fell into the trap set by Ji Yunche. In this life, I only do what I want to do, what others think is none of my concern. I looked coldly at Ji Yunche. Ji Jingzhe is your child. Your parents didn't give birth to me or raise me, so I have no obligation to be filial to them. After the divorce, I will pay you every cent of Ji Jingzhe's child support. I have to get back to work. Please, Dr. Ji, go back and take care of your parents. Ji Yunche frowned and stared at me, his eyes so gloomy they seemed about to overflow. Just as he was about to curse, a sudden commotion erupted outside. Chaos ensued, and then the door to my office was kicked open with a loud bang. The man glared at Ji Yunche with a vicious look, holding a knife. I want your life. Before I could figure out what was happening, Ji Yunche suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me in front of him. He hid behind me, panting heavily in panic. Yu-chan, he's clearly after me. He won't do anything to you. You hold him off first, and we'll be safe once the police arrive. In my previous life, I listened to Ji Yunche's nonsense and recklessly shielded him, standing in front of him as the man, wielding a knife, charged at me like a madman. In that moment, I chose to sacrifice myself to save Ji Yunche. My right palm was nearly severed by the man, and I could no longer hold a scalpel. I lowered my gaze to stare at my right hand, then turned and grabbed Ji Yunche's arm, forcefully pushing him away. In this lifetime, I will not abandon my beloved medical career for this man. Ji Yunche glared at me with a ferocious expression. Shen Yu-chan, have you gone mad? I took a step back, coldly watching Ji Yunche's disheveled state. Ji Yunche, did you ever love me? Ji Yunche was taken aback, but before he could speak, he was entangled by the ferocious man. The man was determined to take Ji Yunche's life, each strike of his blade carrying a terrifying force. Ji Yunche simply couldn't dodge. He was slashed all over, covered in blood, and I watched in horror. Just as the man raised the knife to chop down at Ji Yunche's palm, Jiang Muge's voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. Let go of teacher Ji. I've already called the police. The man glanced coldly at Jiang Muge, spat out the words damn couple, and without hesitation chopped off Ji Yunche's palm. Ji Yunche let out a heart-wrenching scream and then immediately passed out. When the police arrived, the man offered no resistance, only staring at Jiang Muge with a gloomy gaze. You little bitch, my daughter is. It was you who killed him. Her surgery was actually performed by Ji Yunche as the chief surgeon. To give you practice, he didn't even treat my daughter's life as a life, leaving her all alone. Zero died on the operating table. Jiang Muge's face instantly turned pale upon hearing this. She shook her head, her voice trembling slightly. I don't understand what you're talking about, the man snorted coldly. Only by making a big scene can the truth come to light. You little bitch, I'm not afraid to die. I'm going to expose the dirty deeds of you two adulterers, and we'll all go to hell together. Jiang Muge covered her ears in terror, her emotions somewhat out of control. You're talking nonsense. I didn't. Seeing Jiang Muge's state, my heart suddenly tightened. In my previous life, after the incident happened to me, a colleague I was close with came to visit me at home and hesitated before saying, Yu-chan, it's a good thing you resigned. Otherwise who knows what other accusations might have been thrown at you. Just focus on recovering from your injury. It's quite nice to take care of your husband and children at home in the future. Don't believe the rumors outside, they're all false. At that time, I was completely confused by what I heard, and when I tried to ask her more, she refused to say anything. Later, Jiang Muge went abroad for further studies, and Jiyu Yunche also left the country not long after. The matter just faded away quietly, now that I think about it. The blame for Jiang Muge causing someone's death is definitely being pinned on me. Dr. Shun, Dr. Gu's surgery is too difficult. Only you and Dr. Jiyu in our hospital can perform it. Hearing the other doctor's words, I snapped back to reality and fixed my gaze on Jiang Muge. I was just so frightened that I'm a bit unsettled. I definitely can't perform the surgery right now. Dr. Jiang is Dr. Gu's prize student, so why not let Dr. Jiang handle it? Jiang Muge stared at me in panic, her lips trembling as she was about to speak. But the other doctors immediately chimed in. Since Dr. Shun can't do it, then let Dr. Jiang do it. Dr. Jiyu has always taken special care of Dr. Jiang, and you're his only student. Many of the previous surgeries were performed with Dr. Gu's strong. I went against all opposition to let you be the lead surgeon. This time, you'll definitely be fine too. Jiang Muge lowered her head in distress, then turned and knelt with a thud in front of me. Madam, I beg you to save Professor Jiyu. He is your husband. If you don't save him, his hand will be ruined. I stared coldly at Jiang Muge. So you do know he's my husband. Since you knew he had a family, why didn't you keep your distance from him? Keep your distance. Jiang Muge was taken aback, tears streaming down her face in pairs. No, it's not like that. There's nothing between me and teacher Jiyu. We're just in a teacher-student relationship. You can't make such baseless accusations. I sneered. Baseless accusations. I'm afraid everyone in the hospital knows about you too except me. In my previous life, I was too slow-witted. I worked alongside Jiyu Yunche for so long without ever suspecting his relationship with Jiang Muge. In this life, I will strike first, making it impossible for the two of them to stay at the hospital with any dignity. Jiang Muge glared at me fiercely, pretending to be strong as she got up from the ground. Since you're so heartless and refuse to save Professor Jiyu, I'll save him myself. Watching Jiang Muge's receding figure heading towards the operating room, I curled my lips in a scornful smile. With Jiang Muge's abilities, Jiyu Yunche's hand is definitely beyond saving. All the suffering I endured in my past life, he should experience every bit of it. Why can't I even make a fist with my hand? Who performed the surgery on me? Was it Shen Yu-chan? With her skills, reconnecting all the nerves in such a short time wouldn't have been difficult at all. She did it on purpose. She wanted to kill me. I want to see her. I want to see her right now. Watching Jiyu Yunche's incessant frenzy in the hospital room, I pinched my right hand. In my previous life, my surgery was performed by Jiyu Yunche himself. At the time, his explanation was that the nerves in my palm were completely severed, and he had done his utmost to ensure I could manage daily life, but I would never be able to hold a scalpel again. Back then, I never doubted him. Little did I know that, for Jiang Muge, he would go so far as to tamper with the surgery in such a deranged manner. Dr. Jiyu, it wasn't your wife who performed the surgery on you, it was me. You. How could you handle such a difficult surgery? You haven't even finished your internship yet. How could you be allowed in the operating room? Jiang Muge, who gave you the nerve? Do you realize that because of you, my hand is ruined? Even through the door of the hospital room, Jiyu Yunche's roar felt deafening to my ears. He was well aware that Jiang Muge, as an intern, couldn't be the lead surgeon, so how dare he let her perform the surgery on someone else? Jiang Muge shrank back in fear, her voice trembling. It's Shen Yu-chan who refused to perform the surgery for you. I was afraid of missing the best window of treatment, so a loud clang suddenly echoed from the hospital room. Jiyu Yunche threw the hot water bottle directly at Jiang Muge. Do you know what the golden window for treatment is? Do you really think you got this internship on your own merit? Without me, you're nothing. Jiang Muge, my hand is ruined. I'll never be able to hold a scalpel again. And your career is over too. How will you ever save the Jiang family? Jiang Muge was crying with tears streaming down her face, but Jiyu Yunche's eyes no longer held the tenderness of the past, replaced entirely by hatred. I slowly pushed open the door of the ward, placed the medicine to be changed at the entrance. and thoughtfully reminded Jiang Muge, remember to change Dr. Gu's medicine. You're the attending doctor, why do I have to deliver the medicine to you? Jiang Muge glared at me with reddened eyes, her body trembling slightly. Shun Yu-chan, you did it on purpose, didn't you? You deliberately provoked me into performing the surgery for Dr. Gu, you deliberately made Dr. Gu resent me. And you deliberately prevented him from helping our Jiang family turn things around. I never expected you to be so malicious. I let out a cold snort. Don't you know your own capabilities when it comes to performing this surgery? If I can't do it, you can always hire another doctor. The doctors from the hospital should be the ones to do it. I really wasn't in good shape yesterday. I didn't dare risk Ji Yunch's career. I never expected you to be so bold, to take on such a difficult surgery, or were you doing it on purpose? Thinking that if Ji Yunch's hand was ruined, you could take his place and help the Jiang family make a comeback. You're slandering me, Jiang Muge frantically roared at me. I had no idea we could even invite doctors from other hospitals. I only stepped into the operating room because no one was helping. With Teacher Gu's surgery, none of you ever told me. You all conspired to set me up. I glanced at Ji Yunche, whose face had turned deathly pale, and deliberately mocked. I thought your precious student was so capable, but it turns out she's just a complete idiot. Ji Yunche stared at me, his lips trembling as he was about to speak. When suddenly a knock came from outside the door, 2 police officers stood at the door, holding out their badges and staring sternly at Jiang Muge. Comrade Jiang Muge, please come with us, for a trip. Jiang Muge is suspected of being involved in a major medical accident and has been detained by the police. The hospital's first reaction upon learning of this incident was to fire Jiang Muge, since Ji Yunche is also suspected of being involved in this matter. The hospital has suspended him from his duties. With Jiang Muge taken away, the follow-up care for Ji Yunch's surgery has fallen on me. Looking at Ji Yunch's gruesome and terrifying palm, I carefully sprinkled the medicine onto the wound. The stitching wasn't done very well, so the healing might be a bit slow. Don't get it wet these days, and avoid using force. Ji Yunche stared at me with reddened eyes. Are you satisfied now? Are you happy that I ended up like this because of Jiang Muge? I tightened the bandage firmly, watching Ji Yunche wince in pain, and curled the corner of my mouth. What do I have to be satisfied or dissatisfied with? At most, Xiao Jiang Muge showed mercy and spared your life. But what about that little girl? I heard she's only in her teens. What were you thinking when you had Jiang Muge perform the surgery on her? I stood up, looking down at him from above. Ji Yunche, you are a murderer. Ji Yunche struggled to get up urgently. No, it was just a minor surgery. I didn't expect Jiang Muge to be so foolish. He looked up at me. I overestimated her. I thought she had talent like you. He reached out with effort, grabbing my white coat. I know I was wrong. In my current condition, the family will need you to take care of things from now on. Don't worry, I will work hard to recover. I believe it won't be long before I can pick up a scalpel again. Mom just had surgery. Don't tell her about this yet, and try to keep it from Dad as well. Take some time to pick up Jingja. I still want to eat the porridge you make. After you get off work, go home and cook it. Once it's ready, bring it to. I'll bring it over. These past few days without you, I haven't been eating well or sleeping well, and I think I've even lost some weight. I sarcastically snatched the white coat from Ji Yunch's hand and handed him the divorce papers from the Civil Affairs Bureau. I've already signed them. Before I go abroad, please come with me to the Civil Affairs Bureau to sign them. Ji Yunche tore up the divorce papers in agitation. I said I won't get a divorce. Shun Yu-chan, have you no shame? How dare you use something like this to force me into a divorce? I've already apologized. What more do you want? I'm warning you not to push your luck. I lowered my gaze to the torn pieces of the agreement on the floor and sighed sorrowfully. That's just how it is in this era. Divorce is shameful, but infidelity isn't. As long as a man admits his mistake, a woman should forgive him unconditionally. I stepped on the fragments of the agreement, staring indifferently at Ji Yunche. If you refuse to divorce, so be it. In 5 years, when I return, I will file for divorce immediately. Ji Yunche, you'd better watch yourself. Ji Yunche waited for me to raise my voice and shout, how dare you? How dare you go abroad? If you dare to go abroad, I'll make sure everyone here knows you're someone who abandoned your family and child for your own future. Selfish woman, you have no shame. Are you so eager to divorce me because there's another man out there? Shinyu-chan, you are not allowed to go abroad. If you leave, who will take care of the entire household? I looked coldly at Ji Yunch's selfish and self-serving face. That last sentence is what you truly care about, isn't it, Ji Yunche? I am not the nanny of your Ji family. I am my own person, and I will no longer sacrifice my dreams and career for anyone. Graduated, in my previous life, I compromised and endured, bound by traditional beliefs that made me tolerate again and again, living a second life. The truth I genuinely feel is that only those who are free and selfish can live with peace of mind and fare better. I pushed the door open and walked out. As I reached the doorway of the ward, a pair of grubby little hands blocked my path. Ji Jingja lifted his dirty face, his voice trembling with tears. Mom, are you abandoning me too? The day I gave birth to Ji Jingja, I had a difficult labor and suffered a massive hemorrhage. To save money, my mother-in-law insisted that the doctors not perform surgery on me. I spent 3 days and 2 nights in the hospital ward, with critical condition notices being issued one after another. When the doctor asked Ji Yunche whether to save the mother or the baby, he hesitated for a long time, pushed his mother-in-law aside, chose to save the mother, and signed for a cesarean section, surgical consent form. After giving birth to Ji Jingja, I passed out. The doctor said I had been in a coma for 3 full days, and if I hadn't woken up, there would have been no saving me, because my body was damaged during childbirth. Ji Jingja is the only child I will ever have. Since he was little, I've treated him extremely well, giving him all the best things. No matter how poor our family was, there was always meat in his bowl, and he never wore patched clothes, probably because I spoiled him too much since he was a child, and in the end, I ended up raising an ungrateful traitor who bites the hand that feeds him. In my previous life, it was he who personally pushed me out the door. At that time, I desperately held onto his hand, begging him to spare me a way to survive, for the sake of having given birth to and raised him. But he still cruelly pushed me away, repeating the same words, I can't have a mother as incompetent and shabby as you. I'm ashamed. This time, I want to be the capable and glamorous mother in his eyes. And accordingly, he should endure some hardships. I bent down, gently touched his face, feeling a pang of sadness in my heart. After all, he is the child I risked my life to bring into this world. No matter how much I resent him, I can't completely sever this bond between mother and son. Mom isn't abandoning you. She just has to go out to work. From now on, you'll live with Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma. When Mom comes back from work, I'll buy you lots of fun toys and delicious treats, okay? Don't listen to your mom's lies. Once she leaves, she's never coming back. Jingja, hurry and beg your mom not to go. Who's going to take care of our whole family after she leaves? You see, your grandparents are getting old, your father is also sick, and if your mother leaves, you'll completely become an unwanted wild child. Haven't you seen how those motherless kids at your school get bullied? That's what you'll become then. Watching my mother-in-law's sour and mean-spirited attempts to sow discord, I stepped forward and slapped her across the face. From the day I married Ji Yunche, she has been bullying me and throwing her weight around. I served her like a beast of burden for half my life, and in the end, she still despised and looked down on me. All because I am an orphan with no parents and couldn't pave the way for Ji Yunch's smooth rise to success, so even if I do my best, she takes it for granted and shows no gratitude whatsoever. My mother-in-law stared at me in shock, then burst into loud sobs the next second. There's no justice in this world. A daughter-in-law is hitting her mother-in-law. I sneered at my mother-in-law. Someone like me, you should just have Ji Yunche divorce me. It's not that I'm clinging to your family and refusing to leave, it's that your son won't divorce me. The decision to study abroad has been settled, even if you use Ji Jingja. I won't stay. If you don't want to raise him, send him to an orphanage. After all, he's Ji Yunch's child. If he isn't ashamed, I don't care either. Seeing my mother-in-law's stunned expression, I threw the payment notice from my pocket at her. From now on, I won't spend a single penny on your family. You can pay your own bills from now on. The mother-in-law looked bewildered at the spending notification slip on the floor, and the next second, she cried even harder. This is rebellion. Rebellion. Shun you, if you dare to leave, I'll find Yunche a new wife tomorrow. I let out a mocking laugh. Before finding a new wife, make sure Yunche divorces me first. Bigamy is a crime that lands you in jail. Because of the conflict with the Gu family, the hospital, fearing further repercussions, directly transferred me to another department. Thanks to the hospital, I haven't seen the Gu family for several days. On the day of my departure abroad, I woke up early with the intention of visiting Professor Zhao one last time. Both opportunities in my two lives were given to me by her, so it was only right that I came to say goodbye. I stood outside Professor Zhao's office door, and before I could knock, I heard Jiu Yunche's agitated voice from inside. Why give this opportunity to Shen-Yu-chan? Do you know that you've ruined our entire family because of this? Gu, that's not right to say. This is a rare opportunity. And as a family member, you should fully support her. It's only 5 years. When Yu-chan returns, she'll be a key member of the hospital. This is a good thing. Jiu Yunche snorted coldly. What good thing? I just want a woman who can take care of the home. I don't need a capable woman. The more mediocre she is, the more wholeheartedly she can take care of our entire family. Shen-Yu-chan had already agreed to resign before. If it weren't for you giving her this opportunity, our family wouldn't have had to go through so much recently. Now that she's leaving, who will do the housework, who will take care of the elderly and the children? Laughing in extreme anger, before Professor Zhao could speak again, I pushed the door open, stormed over to Jiu Yunche, and slapped him across the face. Jiu Yunche, you disgust me. Jiu Yunche was stunned and raised his hand to retaliate, but I dodged to the side, as he was about to strike again. Professor Zhao called security to have him dragged out. Shen-Yu-chan, you are a despicable woman. You have no shame. Watching Jiu Yunche being dragged away by the security guards, my hand trembled slightly. How could I have been so blind to have fallen for him back then? Professor Zhao kindly took my hand and said, "Don't worry about what others think. You must bravely be yourself." I nodded gratefully, my voice choked with emotion. Professor Zhao, thank you. The moment the plane took off, I felt an unprecedented sense of relaxation. Looking at the scenery below the window, I let out a heavy sigh. From today onward, Shen-Yu-chan is starting a new life. 5 years later, I was wearing my favorite red coat and, surrounded by the dean and the hospital's key staff, I returned to the hospital once again. In the past, Jiu Yunche always disliked me wearing brightly colored clothes. It wasn't until I went abroad that I realized bright colors actually make me look even more beautiful. The hospital remains the same as it was 5 years ago, with little change. Many of the doctors in the hospital are still familiar faces. When they saw me, they greeted me warmly, saying, "Dr. Shun, you've really changed. You look so beautiful. I always said you had the makings of a beauty." But Dr. Gu used to say, bringing up Jiu Yunche on such a happy day is such a mood killer. Exactly, what a mood killer. I smiled at them. Not a mood killer. Our divorce papers haven't been finalized yet. On the way to the Gu family's house, my feelings were somewhat complicated. When the car stopped at the Gu family's doorstep, I thought we had pulled up to the wrong place. The once clean and tidy entrance was overgrown with weeds, and at a glance, one might think no one lived there. As I hesitated about whether to get out and knock, the door was pushed open from the inside, and Jiu Jingzhe, a teenager, came out carrying a full bucket of water, struggling to walk out. In the past, all these dirty and tiring tasks were done by me. I never expected that after I left, they would actually let Jiu Jingzhe do it. He's just a child. Furious, I pushed the car door open, and Jiu Jingzhe froze in place the moment he saw me. His lips trembled as he called out, "Mom." I lowered my gaze and walked over to him. "Where is Jiu Yunche? Why did he make you do this?" Jiu Jingzhe lowered his eyes, tears streaming uncontrollably down his face. "The year you left, Grandma passed away. The following winter, Grandpa was pushed out the door by Dad and froze to death. After Dad's hand was crippled, he started drinking heavily and neglected everything. The money for my schooling was all spent on his alcohol. Last year, Dad had a stroke and became paralyzed, unable to get up again. Seeing Jiu Jingzhe's condition, my nose tingled with emotion, and I pulled him toward the house. As soon as I opened the door, a foul odor hit me, making me almost vomit. Jiu Yunche. lying on the kang, moved his eyes. The moment he saw me, he frantically covered himself with the blanket and shouted, "Get out, get out of here." I placed the prepared divorce agreement beside Jiu Yunche's hand. "Sign it." Jiu Yunche let out a mocking laugh, then burst into tears. "Shen Yu-chan, I've wronged you. I've ended up like this entirely because of my own. You reap what you sow. I can sign the divorce agreement. I only have one request. Please take Jingzhe with you, I beg you." Looking at Jiu Yunche, who no longer resembled the dashing man he once was, I lowered my gaze and said, "All right." Jiu Yunche signed the divorce agreement, and we were officially divorced. Although I decided to continue taking care of Jiu Jingzhe to avoid the tragedy of the previous life, I resolved to keep my distance from him, only taking responsibility for raising him, but unwilling to pour any other emotions into him, so I sent him to a boarding school, where he came home once a month. 3 years later, I achieved my wish and became the director of the hospital. Over the past 3 years, I have performed thousands of surgeries with 0 errors, been named the city's most outstanding doctor, and my office is filled with commendation banners. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.